All right, so part two of the testing, I talked to Bill from Iron Will, just kind of give him feedback on the head. He brought up a few good points, one of which being that when you use an axis arrow with a hit insert, realistically you're holding the broadhead by the threads, which I know all broadheads are held by their threads, but the difference being when you have a regular insert, you've got some more stability, something metal, aluminum, whatever that insert is, around the rest of the shaft or shank before you get to the full ferrule, the broadhead. With an axis you don't. So on a glancing shot, which is what appears to have happened, it's hard to say. With a glancing shot, it obviously that broadhead hit and turned and shifted and it bent and then it broke out of the arrow. What Bill asked is, he said, hey, will you test another head and do it on thawed bone? And I said sure. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot his head into this bone. Is all thawed out at this point, and I'm going to shoot another Exodus and see what they do on thawed bone. So here we go. So that was the Exodus, and I'll have to try and dig it out a little later. It of course broke the arrow. Exodus is still in there pretty good. Took a chunk out of the bone but didn't go through it. So I'm going to try and shift this just a little bit. And I'm going to be aiming right in here with the Iron Will. We'll see what it does. Okay, so thawed bone at this point. These are really thick bones. They're very heavy bones, and neither one of the broadheads broke the bone in half. This arrow's actually stuck in here. So there's both of my arrows. I'm going to take this in the shop, and or actually I'll probably just stop the recording. I'm going to grab a pair of pliers and we're going to try and get these out of here. I did twist the bone a little bit, so we'll see what kind of damage happened. All right, guys, so I'm going to try and get these out of here. Actually, probably come out pretty easily. There's the Exodus. So I got a bent blade. It's actually bent. One of the first times I've actually seen one curve and bend. Other than that, it is not in bad shape. I'm gonna get the hose and spray this off, but what I can tell you is, looking at it right now, tip flattened out just a little bit, but other than that, so far it looks in pretty good shape. Nice solid square hit on both of those. So there's what the Exodus did. Interestingly enough, you can kind of see where the Iron Will hit last time when it was frozen on this side. So struck kind of close. There's what the Iron Will did. That dug a pretty good hole in there. All right, guys, so here's the plate. I'm gonna treat the Iron Will just like I treated the Exodus in the last test. Got shot into the thawed bone. It's actually in relatively good shape. It's not bent at all. The tip's bent. The blades have nicks along the blades, but other than that, the broadhead's in good shape. So we're gonna shoot it at the steel plate and see what it does. Well, we destroyed another arrow. Broadhead doesn't look any worse for wear, and actually put a bigger hole through the steel plate than the Exodus did. So that was the Huner head. That's the iron wheel, that's the Exodus. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in my archery shop and my little home archery shop here. And so here's the iron wheel after it has gone through bone now, and the steel plate. So the steel plate didn't seem to affect it at all. I don't see anything that I can say, hey, that's more damage because of the steel plate. Try and get the camera to focus a little better here. I'm filming this all on my phone, so you know, it's I actually feel like I could probably sharpen that and reuse it. So here is the Exodus after the bone, and like I said, that one blade, it's one of the few times I've ever seen a blade actually bend on an Exodus. Mostly you'll get, you know, a little waffling, but you know, the tip's a little bent, but still held up well. So these are the two we shot today. So let's kind of recap one more time here. This is the Huner that went into the steel plate, got the least amount of penetration of any of the heads I tested in the steel plate. This was brand new when it went through the steel plate, and the tip got kind of messed up. Again, I could probably sharpen that out, but the big disappointment is just based off momentum, that blade broke off right there. So this is the Huner head that got shot into the frozen bone, and as you can see, the tip broke completely off. Blades are fairly messed up, and it broke off at the threads, so did not fare well. This is the Exodus that got shot 80 yards and then got shot into the frozen bone and then got shot into the steel plate. So as you can see, it's fairly beat up, but you know, still survived. The other iron wheel actually is in my house, the one that has the bent right at the threads. So that's that. I'll just show you the plate again here real quick. So Exodus, iron wheel, and Huner head. So the iron wheel definitely out-penetrated the other two heads. Okay, give you guys a quick final recap. Hopefully the video wasn't too long for you. Sorry if it was. So again, the Exodus tested great and loved the Exodus. But the point of this test was actually to test the Huner and the iron wheel. I can tell you right now, I won't be shooting the Huner heads. They're just not the head for me. I wasn't happy with the way they performed. The iron wheel head, for a cut on contact head, it tested better than any other head that I've played with so far, and you know, it did everything that I expected it to do. I actually was kind of hoping that it would break the bone. I've been waiting for a head that would break a bone that big, and maybe heads, they're just not a magical thing that's going to do it. And you know, again, I'm shooting a pretty fast bow with a pretty heavy arrow. Maybe I need some more FOC. That's a whole nother test we'll be doing at some point, is to test some real heavy FOC, slow my bow down, and see if that breaks some bone and I get even better penetration. But that wasn't the point of this test. The point of the test was, how well does the iron wheel do? Again, I shot, and the Huner, I shot the Exodus because that's always my standard that I go against. And man, for a cut on contact, I actually am really impressed with this head. I'm glad Bill asked me to retest it because it held up really well, and it out-penetrated the Exodus on the steel plates. So for a cut on contact to survive the steel plates and you know, and out-penetrate the Exodus is pretty good. Looking at this head, I keep looking at it. It's not bent anywhere that I can see. So you know, the other thing this test did would make me rethink my inserts that I'm using. I love my Axis arrows, but I might be switching to a different insert just so I can add some strength to the shank of all of my broadheads, no matter if I shoot the Exodus or anything else, rather than relying on that carbon, which is something I had never really thought about before. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I helped you out in some way. And again, if there's a head you want me to test, I do all this out of my own pocket, so I can't afford to just go buy every head on the market. I kind of pick and choose after a lot of research, but if there's a head that you would like tested, send me one and I will put it through the ringer. If you can send me two, do that, just in case we have something go wrong, and I'll post the results. Thanks, guys.